match of the day. Welcome to Derelict Watcher. In the northeast position, we have the red Protoss player with a very fast probe moving out. From Team Liquid, it is HerO. When everything's on the line, you gotta do some crazy stuff. He's up against this gentleman in the southwest, the blue Terran player from Team CM Storm. It is Polt.
Now, this should be the proxy stalker variant. It should be like one gateway, sometimes two. Cybernetics core and gateway do, well, it kind of depends. There's a few different things you can do with this. You can drop that second pound inside your main and put the Cybernetics core there. It slows it down just a little bit, but HerO's going to start us off in a pretty interesting way. What I like about this proxy is that while it's become fairly commonplace for Terran players to check for proxy stargates, that happens further down the road. You're going to have a Zealot and a Stalker barreling down on you before you know it. And the nice thing about this, too, is if you dial up CC first, like Mr. Polt has, it's not even fair to call it trouble. This is double trouble, Nathanius.
You know,
terrible movie.
Going into these series, two strong players. Polt with this command center first could be jumping out onto the battlefield and, well, immediately stepping on a spear someone left behind, because this opening is so vulnerable to this type of early aggression, and especially with the fast Stalker, he can kite versus any type of SCVs that he pulls to try to hold this. This is going to be a nightmare scenario. He's even building the command center on the low ground. He has no hope of even walling this off to try to buy himself some time.
You know what's bad about this, too, is he's in danger of a Zealot not only killing the SCV constructing the CC, but actually stopping the CC itself, and that cancellation's expensive. It throws a gigantic wrench into your build, and look at this. We're going to get a HerO scout here, sees this, and he is... You guys can't see it. We don't have a foot cam in these boosts, but he's toe-tapping right now. There's a banana grin on his face. He is super happy right now. This is an amazing start for him in terms of builder. And you know, you hear this term a lot, build, order, win. This is about as close as it gets to that. I don't know of a better Protoss build for what he's facing right now.
Yeah, thankfully for Polt, at the very least, he can buy himself a little bit of time. He's used the second barracks, the two barracks follow-up, to wall off the main from the natural. Some Terran players will build them still close to the command center, and that will allow the Zealot to run straight in. But at the very least, or I guess at the very worst, he's going to maybe have this command center delayed a little bit longer. The SCV's trying to dance around. If he could complete it and lift it off and get it inside, that's huge. I think at the very least, HerO wants to make sure this command center gets canceled. At best, he's able to use the Stalker to bring a lot more pressure and, push up that ramp. But there we see Polt immediately canceling it as the Zealot comes up the ramp.
Best choice. I mean, honestly, it's not much of a choice, but it costs 100 minerals. He got a second SCV down there. He's thinking about maybe trying something out to get in there, but he just wasn't going to be able to do it. He needs to repair this depot, and sending one SCV is not going to be enough. Okay, so there's three. Should be there and fine. The next big danger here, of course, is this Stalker, and by not building a bunker here, he's tempting fate a little bit.
Yeah, this is going to get interesting. The SCVs can repair. He needs a couple more Marines to actually stave off these Stalkers, but we can see he's supply blocked. He's having some trouble actually getting these Marines out. He's stuck at 19 supply. Yeah, he's engineering bay blocked his opponent's natural, but he doesn't have any unit production. Two Marines cannot hold this off. He's pulling the SCVs, but another Stalker's rolling up, doing his best to repair. There the bunker begins, but already one Marine picked off, and I guess he can build more because he's losing supply. But that's not the best way to run your production, and HerO is just carving through this front door. I feel like, Polt, it's one of those things you don't realize that you don't have that second supply depot. That isn't your standard barracks, then command center. You're very low on that supply providing building at the very beginning, and that's it. He's got one Marine to stop, two Zealots, and two Stalkers.
HerO is having a dream opening. Polt is rattled. He's been supply blocked. This is a late bunker. A CC is going to finish in the main, but to what end? Bunker is going to have nobody for it, and there it is.
GG.
1-0 HerO.
We're counting down to the map. Let's see how confident Polt's feeling moving into this game. It is Frost. Welcome, spawning in the northwest position as the red Protoss player.
I like how you're the doorman for all these maps. It's one of my favorites, man.
As I try to
Welcome to Frost, everybody. This is I'm Nathanius. Kick up your feet.
You got to give the warm welcome for everybody. Maybe some people haven't been to Frost before. You don't know. Could be a nice place.
It is a nice place.
The colors are nice, at least. But
it has a Christmas tree somewhere. Yep, there it is. Lower right-hand side. They celebrate Christmas in Frost.
So it would seem. But I mean, that's been celebrated a lot of places. But we have our players in the southeast, the red and blue Terran player from CM Storm. It's Polt. Needs to find a way to bring this back. He has a lot of support from this crowd. I feel like both players have a lot of support from this crowd.
Yes. I feel like he should be called Commander Polt with his jacket like that and in his hair. And that's not a dig at him or anything. It just he strikes me as a commander at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would say he's a captain, but
Captain Polt?
Captain America.
Oh, right. Texas does do that to a man.
Yeah.
Or woman, to be fair.
Texas is a scary place, but Polt's moving the SCV out. Will open up with a barracks. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a fast Reaper this game, just to have information, and not just information in the early game like, oh, am I getting proxy stargated, but what's your mid game looking like? Is this going to be one of those, you know, we've seen Protoss players throw out a couple of strong 2-base timings. 2-base blink plays can be pretty strong on this map. There's a lot of angles to attack from, and not having information in the mid game, like we said, could cost Polt his tournament life. HerO, on the other hand, opening up with these 2 refineries, a normally timed gateway. Pretty standard play, it looks like, from both players so far.
Very standard. And, you know, I don't want to make it sound like this is completely indicative of what happened in game number 1, but Reaper Expand is just about the safest build you can get. That Reaper should get a decent scout, if not a perfect scout, inside that Protoss main. Very rarely is it going to do damage, but of course the scouting itself could be damaged. If you are facing that ever so deadly proxy Oracle, which is still common on a 4-player map like this, it just means that HerO's going to have to do a little bit of scouting. Then the Reaper's going to be your first answer. It's your ability to find it, make sure that that is what you're facing, and then you can even ticklet that pylon, and if the Protoss ignores it, then you can't actually depower that Stargate, typically after the 1 Oracle, though.
Yeah, the probe taking a pretty interesting path. These will be placing a pylon towards the center-right side of the map. I think this is pretty solid. It's closer to any of the other 3 bases than his main base is, if he wants to put a Stargate. And I think it's probably going to be Stargate.
Oh, absolutely. HerO is he's feeling good, and this is a great build. The thing I like about Proxy Oracle
is that it gets scouted very quickly by Polt. Reaper
first
finds it, so he has the information he needs to not die at the very beginning of this game. And I mean, it's kind of a funny thing to say, but he doesn't actually know where HerO's base is yet. If he didn't find HerO in time, there's a chance this proxy gets up a little bit faster. Maybe Polt cuts an edge because he's down in this series.
But now, this is going to get canceled.
Yeah, he can get to work on this, and yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to get another probe out there to rebuild a pylon.
He should cancel the Stargate. Being found the second the Stargate goes down like that, I'm a little bit interested. I'm a little bit curious why Polt pulled the SCV back. I would have liked that to go join on the pylon. He actually might know the timings just so much better than me, and actually looking at this, I think he knew.
Yeah, Stargate's
but
canceled.
this is never going to happen. Gets canceled. Pylon will die as well. Really nice opening for Polt. It's not like HerO's dead, but he's behind.
Yeah, and HerO gets the Nexus up, so he's just going to be playing, like you said, a little bit from behind, at least as far as the expansion goes. That command center is finishing up for Polt, and the nice thing about the Stargate being spotted this early is that you don't even need to invest that in typical defense that you would need early on, like an engineering bay or a bunker inside of your mineral line to cover the potential aggression of those Oracles, and Polt can just kind of cruise along with the direction he wanted to take, get the tech lab, start up that stim. This is a very standard 2-barrack setup that the Terran player has, and HerO's like, actually, no, I'm just going to now 2-base proxy Stargate you. He's relentless, it seems.
He's being a little bit of a bulldog. He's going to return to the idea. And you know what's kind of cool about this? A little bit of a double bluff. Like, it gets found, canceled mid-map. So typically what happens then is the Protoss says, all right, I'll expand, which is exactly what Polt confirms. But then also it's usually like a robo follow-up. You want to go a little bit more conservative and get those observers out. Start heading towards Colossus. But here says, nope, actually Oracles are so damn good. There's even a chance that it's better now because you think it really isn't coming. Like now you're like, oh, certainly he's not doing it now. But he does, you can see Polt still, he's not a believer. He's like, those Oracles, man, they're pretty good. I'm going to park my Marines around the map. And this could be trouble for a HerO because that engineering bay, like you said earlier, yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance, but now this is the timing for it. 1 missile turret, couple of Marines, he's on lockdown.
He only needs 6 Marines to stop the Oracle. He has 12. If they're split between his 2 bases, he shouldn't have much trouble at all dealing with this. The Sentry's trying to come up here, blocking this Reaper. I don't think, I feel like he kind of wants the Reaper to get the scout off. You'll see double forge. And anticipating the gas being invested in this, I think if this Oracle if he does do any damage with an Oracle, then the double forge gives him a huge lead. And there the Oracle is on the production tab. So he's getting this out. Polt still has those Marines, as you said, those split between the natural and the main base. He's just now sending out a little bit of a force to move out. He's actually bringing the Marines out of his main base, too. That Oracle is getting very close to completion.
I'm actually a little bit disappointed. Polt scouts that base and sees a late double forge. Like, by all rights, that's late. Nothing else. No Robo, no Twilight Council, no additional gateways. Yes, there's the expansion, but he has to know there's money somewhere else. But I say that, and he doesn't. There's no missile turret behind this. There's no stockpiling of Marines. This Oracle is going to have a field day, and it's going to be all about what Polt can do on the other side. But guess what? Photon Overcharge is narrowing in here. He's got a couple of sentries. HerO's sitting pretty.
Yeah, and he just killed a hallucinated Oracle, and maybe even leaving him more off guard. Here it comes into the main base. What does Polt have? Nothing. Some Marines in the production tab. Not even these barracks producing. Oracle already with 6 kills. HerO is going to town. The Marines have that stim, but they actually were attacking the reactor during that period of time. And the SCVs, they're left their cornered in the base, cowering in fear. There's nothing they can do against this.
This is a 15-plus kill Oracle going on 16-70. Going to back away. Here we go with that aggression near the Nexus, and Photon Overcharge, not even any force fields, deflected. HerO is in a commanding spot, 29 SCVs. A second Oracle pulls up here as well. It's going to do more damage versus 45 probes. Missile turret finally pushes them away from that natural, and the Oracles are going to back away, but, well, I like Polt's reaction here. Actually, it's not a reaction. He did this a little bit before, but this fast third CC could be how he gets back into this, because on the flip side, HerO's going to follow us up with a gateway timing aided by the Twilight Council. It's going to be what looks to be like Charge Lot Archon. And Polt's going to have what it takes to deal with that. Medivacs, lots of bio. That's very natural for him. You don't have to do things like you need Vikings against Colossus or something like that. So Polt could get back into this.
This factory sees that hidden Stargate on the left side. The Oracles are still perusing the map. Missile turrets are finally going up in the main base. That third, as you said, is done. There's the Templar Archives. The potential for Charge Lot Archon is here. Polt tried to bring some pressure while the Oracles hit him, but the Photon Overcharge with those sentries just made it too difficult for him to bring any type of counter pressure to the Protoss player. Now he's stepping up, trying to snipe a sentry, gets force fielded, and will pick up the Marines and Marauders. He's able to keep them alive for now. There's not enough energy for another overcharge, so he's just trying to abuse this very small period before charge completes, and he can kite these zealots around, maybe do a little bit more damage. The Stalkers are being warped in, try to shove these medevacs away so that he can't dance around quite as much. And as the Photon Cannons finish and these units approach, Polt will be forced to evacuate.
Really nicely done by Polt, getting something out of nothing. Missile turrets, Marines, kind of placed between his bases. So Polt is starting to clamber back into this, and Nathanius, I have to agree, if he's going to do it, it's going to be off of drops like that. Now, very importantly, I'm curious as to whether or not Polt kind of identified what he's facing. He saw a lot of Zealots, he saw a couple of sentries, but that could be for anything. You don't want to have a high stalker count at this point in time, no matter what. So
no,
I'm going to check just to make sure.
And there's Storm on the production tab as well. So
he sees the Templar Archives well. He saw that when he evacuated out through the right side. So he knows. He knows what he's facing. Very
important. He's focused. He's actually looking to spend his earlier gas, at least in this stage, towards the upgrades. Some custom shells on the way, second engineering bay, as well as the armory. Polt wants to stay, or at least not fall too far behind in upgrades, I should say, as that 2-2 is passing the halfway mark. The double forge is really going to start kicking in here. There we see the Archon being warped in. I think if you're going to go for the Storm with this and not straight into Charge Lot Archon, taking a third base isn't a bad idea. He's checked over there, placing a pylon, and he's just posturing himself on top of this ramp saying, yeah, I dare you to try to run up into this, because now that I have charge, with my upgrades about to complete and this Archon, I'll crush you if we have a head-on fight.
HerO far and away has a stronger army, and again, that's kind of a result from that early Oracle damage. 20-some-odd Harvesters killed. You can see now, though, the Harvester count has equalized, and that's largely due in part because of that very fast and aggressive third CC. It wasn't even in the base making SCVs, it was built at the third base. So HerO is inclined to move out there and start getting aggressive. Storm is about to finish with that one Templar inside the main, but we're about to have a, I don't know if I want to call it a doom drop, but I guess given what Polt's army is, that's about as doomy as it gets.
There's no way Polt can really defend his third base, but let's see what the drop does in the main. Storm is finished. He shouldn't be able to cancel too much. There's one Templar sitting here trying to storm the Marines. Gets a great one off.
Geez.
Almost all of the Marines in this drop are killed. Now the third base being shoved back by HerO, just trying to continue to bring this endless pressure, but Polt needs to make something, needs to make a miracle happen in his opponent's base. The Mothership Core activates the Photon Overcharge. The Marines and Marauders are still out of range, but those Zealots at the 2-2 are so hardy. The SCV's trying to run away at the same time. What does Polt have sitting in his natural to defend him from pushing up further into his base? I'm not sure, but the drop's been almost completely cleaned up. Polt's parking on top of this ramp. Not a bad position, at least versus the Zealots, but now drops on this third. Just a cannon to defend this, and a couple warp-ins could clean this up. Those SCVs are still just running, just trying to get away, man, trying to find their way home across this field, but Polt's actually still hanging in there in terms of the supply. The Templar Archives was picked off, so it slows down at least the production of the Templar and the Archons. But he could actually come in and flank this the SCV train that's trying to make it back home. It seems
he's
towards the bottom
hunting
of the map.
There it is. They're not going to get back.
There's no way home for these poor fellows.
No, that's the That was the alternative Homeward Bound story, and it was a sad one. The dogs got eaten by a bear. Disney did not pick it up. It was gruesome, and nobody wants to see a Labrador die that way. But with this third getting saturated here from HerO and the routing of the third for Polt, you can say there's a nice little lead for HerO. Nathaniel, so that you broke it down quite nicely, having the SUVs chased around. He saw with the Oracle that there was a lot of bio on the high ground there. He knew he couldn't crack that nut, so he said, okay, I'm fine with that. Back away. This is a little bit of an awkward engagement here, a little bit of a drop attempt by Polt, getting picked off by this roving band of hunters over here. But Polt needs to... I mean, here's the thing. Polt thrives on being out on the map, aggressive, challenging with drops, challenging with third base attempts, but he's not the stronger army right now. He's going to kite back here. This is a... looks like to be an okay fight, but man, those upgrades for HerO kicking some butt.
Yeah, the move out from Polt, it's a bit of an anti-timing. His 2-2 is just maybe a half a minute away at this point, and I feel like if you want to win good trades versus this, it's almost luck for Polt at this point that the 3-3 was never started for HerO. He'll be even on the upgrades. He can trade so much better versus the Zealots with the Marine and Marauder composition, and still trying to bring some pressure, but now the Stargate game picked off. I have to say, this Ghost Academy pretty late, but no transition into Colossi coming in just yet.
You know what? Look at that. The 3-3 of HerO has not been started. So with 2-2 finishing right now, as you had said earlier, Nathanius, the goal of Polt was just to kind of stay in the same ballpark as him in terms of upgrades, but he's going to equalize here. And if Polt hits his timings nicely, I mean, he doesn't have the money for it right now, but if he can find the money, he could even surpass him in upgrades, and that's a big deal in TVP.
Yeah, the Protoss army, you know, it doesn't build up quite as quickly as the Terran Bio Ball, but it's designed to be cost-effective with those storms, with those higher upgrades, as we said. And Polt getting this means he can start bringing the pressure back towards HerO side of the field. A storm hits some of those units, trying to shove him back. Polt keeps a lot of his bio alive. The medevac count's kind of decent. He needs to watch out for feedback, but the War Prism in the main base, 3 Zealots dropped in, warps in 5 more, and he's going for the production. There are some units back home for Polt to defend, but there's also the units moving into the third base. There's no missile turret from the first attack. The Oracle pressing him back, and now Polt just needs to watch his army in the main base. There's the storm. A lot of these medevacs, very low feedbacks, one of them. 2 more with barely any hit points. The War Prism attack has been stopped, but this prevents him from being reinforced. Quadruple drop, hitting that natural expansion, spreading the bio out. There's the storms trying to stop this. Polt is hanging in there for dear life, but these storms really softening up a lot of this force. But Polt's really starting to stretch HerO out. He's hitting the third base as well. So much bio dancing around. There's no more probes mining in the natural. The third base is under assault. There's not enough Zealots here.
Where does HerO go?
He has back. He doesn't have enough. Suddenly Polt's up 70 supply. Where did this come from? The third Nexus sniped away. A Colossus comes out as well. Well, I'm late to the party. Range is going to complete, but Polt picks off the natural as well. You could even get the robotics facility, potentially even canceling the range upgrade.
HerO might be revealed, actually. It looks like he's not going to go for the Nexus, but we might have a 19-minute reveal. The first Colossus, excuse me, is actually picked off, and those guys are evacuated out. Just all of a sudden, both players were everywhere. We had Oracles at thirds, Warpins in the main, and Polt's like, 2 can play at that game, friend, and all of a sudden, he's doom dropping the natural, poking at the third, running into the main. Both these players going ham, but Polt, the big winner there, enjoying a 60 supply advantage. It looks like he should lose. Well, I was going to say lose this fight, but where the hell did that come from?
Polt needed to play very patiently before his +2-2 finish, and he has made it work so well. Kiting back versus these units, there's not enough. The Zealots don't have that upgrade advantage. They die very quickly to this stimmed bio ball with this many medevacs covering. There's a couple of storms, but how much does he really need to actually stop this? There's more and more units starting to stream across the field. He's putting down storms on sets of 3, 2 Marauders. The bios coming in from all directions. The third base, the natural, being rebuilt. Look at the income. HerO's barely pulling anything in, less than 1,000 minerals a minute. Polt's going over 2 grand at this point with his 3-base setup with those mules. And now he's just trying to posture himself for a big assault. Needs to be careful about taking too many storms and overextending. But as the main base mines out for HerO, he's basically just waiting for these next side to replenish themselves.
Yeah, and Polt's going to continue the game plan, man. Drop there, poke there. He's going to be all over at once. He has stabilized the 3-base economy like you talked about, and he's just trading Marine, Marauder, Medevac for extremely precious and expensive units like Archons, like Templar, like Colossus, and even Structures.
Double drop going towards the main. Photon Overcharge activated, moves in towards the third as well. Has a lot of bio here. Some storms softening this force up. The Templar are coming in, hitting the Marauders. Not really the best storms. He's still behind, back by the Forges. Archon taking some damage in the main base. He's going to continue to press through. This Nexus is under fire once again. Polt has more and more reinforcements moving across the field. Tons of bio. The main base force is attacking the Nexus. The third is dead, and Polt ties the series against HerO. There's almost always a way to squeeze an edge out somewhere, but we're here on Acheron Wastes. It's time to see who advances and who goes home.
Welcome them, please.
Spawning.
Welcome them to Acheron Wastes.
Welcome to Acheron Wastes. Your hosts, Jeff and Nathan.
Yes.
Spawning in the bottom right position as the red Protoss player from Team Liquid. It is HerO. We got to get Game Heart to add a doormat to the maps as well.
And like a graphic where your face appears on the lower right-hand side, like welcome.
Yeah,
I'd like that a lot.
A wreath on the ramp of the main base as well.
Let's make that a stretch goal. I know they're doing a Kickstarter. Let's get it up there.
All right, double that goal. And in the Northwest, the blue Terran player who just tied this series up after what seemed to be a potential 2-0 sweep from CM Storm, it is Polt.
Appear to be the beginnings of a... Well, actually, no. We'll hold on for a minute here. If Polt's going to do CC first or not. Kind of doubt it. 1v1 map here at Aklon Waste. Pretty classic. We've seen a lot of PvT here. This is a map where we could see... I mean, it's weird to say the map like this, because to be honest, again, I did describe exactly what Polt was going to do before he played, and that's because this has been his MO as a killer in the scene. He does this every single TVP. He's not a big SCV shover. He's not... You won't see mech out of nothing crazy like that. In fact, I almost don't even see his ghost because nobody survives his mid game. Like HerO, it's not true that it was 20 plus SCVs. There's a couple of Marines in there, so let's call it 15 SCVs down. That's a big freaking deal when you're playing HerO to just gift them away. And HerO, yes, he had to cancel the original Stargate, but what that came at the cost was he just expanded and did a slightly slower Stargate proxy, and he very much so got the better opening. I really thought Polt was dead. But it's just his immaculate macro, his aggression, and his ability to make every single unit count. This is something you said, Nathanius. The guy doesn't waste a drop. He does not waste a push. That center mass storm inside the main, I thought that was going to do him in, but for some reason he just had 200 more guys behind it.
We said it when we were talking about Polt before the series began, that a lot of his strategies are a little bit unorthodox compared to most Terran players, but he makes them work with excellent execution. And that's really what we saw from the drops, hitting so many different angles at once, and managing to just stretch that Protoss beyond any point of hoping to cover what he could bring. And now HerO's here, taking the Nexus. Yeah, I mean...
The unorthodox Marine Marauder drop play?
We didn't see any other Terran players do that. It's something that Polt kind of likes himself. It's something that he's pioneered a little bit more. We saw MMA copy that, but I like the way that Polt he has like these very specific plans, and the execution is always what makes them work so well, no matter how far behind he is.
Sure. He executes very, very well. I agree with that. We do have a reactor for Polt, so he's going to kind of go back. This is a little bit of an older build, but a fantastic one. Nathanius is a Terran player, but also is a historian of StarCraft 2. Where do you rank this kind of opening?
This opening from Polt, I mean, it's about as standard as, I don't know, as a sandwich, really, for a meal. It's not anything extravagant.
Yeah.
It's safe. It gives you some options to scout. And kind of like this map, this is a Heart of the Swarm build. The Reaper getting you lots of information early on, and using the 2 barracks play so you can get your gas a little bit faster, still get up to the stim, despite investing the gas early with a later expansion than something like, say, a 1 barracks fast expand. It's just a classic build that's become the norm for the matchup.
I like this variation, and then I like the really fast engineering bay. Let's see if he goes that route. He is getting a second gas, but oftentimes that can just be to make sure that he is able to start. He actually likes the 2 barracks factory kind of opening where he gets stim at the same time. So this might be very similar to what we've seen him kind of rally back to in the other games.
Yeah, and HerO's actually going for a robotics facility this game, so we're seeing a little bit more of a conservative opening from the Protoss player. Nothing really extravagant like that Stargate that we saw in the second map.
Yeah.
And Polt, he's just kind of doing his thing. He has the Marines position. He's saying, you know, worst comes to worst. Sure, something flies in my main base. I've got 6 Marines here. It's no problem. Forge is on the way for HerO. So it looks like we're already starting to see the makings of what could lend itself towards being a bit of a longer game. But this map is still good for the drops. The Reaper gets in pretty much full scout. Doesn't see the Forge, but that robotics facility at least lets you know that the aggression isn't coming that quickly. This isn't really looking too much like something, say, the Patience MMA, the very fast Immortal attack.
Well, you could say it's the calm before the CM storm, because Polt's not much in the way of a rusher, but as we saw in Nathanius, the glorious thing that is that man's midsection of the game, between the nipples and the knees, he's packing a lot of heat down there, and he shows it off around the 15 minutes to make that into kind of a dick joke.
Yeah, when those I had to.
I'm contractually obligated to do that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm contractually obligated to welcome everybody to every possible map.
Well, as long as we know our roles, then I suppose.
Codename Friendly Man. The +1 armor starting. Starport's on the way. And Stim is coming through. This is really standard. Polt scans and he sees, okay, he took gas, so it's you're still looking to get some sort of further tech than just a robotics facility. You can almost assume, okay, robotics bay. If he saw something like Double Forge, there's a potential that it's just maybe a fake Colossus or even just a straight rush to Storm like some players like SOS would do.
Sure.
Which didn't really work too well versus Tasia, another player that we've seen use a lot of drop play to keep themselves in the game against Protoss. So I'm wondering where Polt exactly wants to take this. There's the Twilight Council, and I still feel like this is a good map for the drops.
Well, of course, yeah. That's something that should have talked about a little bit more earlier on, is that this is one of those maps kind of like, and bear with me for the comparison for a moment here, kind of like a Whirlwind where, yes, if you take this third that's behind the Destructible Rocks, in fact, a lot of times they'll take the one that's kind of at the top of the natural or base of the natural if you're Polt for this very reason. But if you take that base, they can attack into it, things turn sour, pick up, and go and drop inside your main, just like on Whirlwind. Not nearly as bad, but, you know, similar. So that's where drops become very powerful here. But a lot of times people, like I said, will circumvent that by just taking this, I mean, still droppable base, but once you drop that, if the defenses come in, you have to pick up and leave. You don't oftentimes go into the natural because that pathway is much easier to counterattack.
And, you know, we've actually discussed this in prior games of Protoss vs. Terran, this early blink from HerO. Well, he is going for Colossi. It's not necessarily a commitment to Blink Stalker Colossus attack, but it gives him the flexibility to jump between these three bases if he builds that third in the pocket base, as you'd mentioned, to defend pretty easily. He can move between the bases without too much trouble. As Polt's now here, he has Stim, he has Medivacs, and this is where he starts to really ramp up the aggression. He has the third command center on the way behind this, so he's just trying to see what he can make of this mid game.
Really like the defense from HerO, excuse me. Not really. It was a bit of a dicey situation, kinda. He did use the photon overcharge, I think, a little bit too fast, and what he's saying by that is, hey, it's game 3. I've got one game. I mean, you know, winner of this just is out of here, so I don't really want to risk it.
Command center taking some really heavy fire, does manage to force the cancel. That Warp Prism being already a little bit effective for the Liquid Protoss player.
Arguably. It was a cancel, so it cost him 100 minerals. It was just immediately placed, so it's not like it's delayed that much, and it cost him 3 zealots. Not quite the same as actually picking it off or something like that. But the nice thing about this is the continuation. Polt now knows there's a Warp Prism out there, and HerO has no problem warping in 5, 6, 7 zealots or what have you inside of your main base while you're out in the middle of the map. And Polt is a player that is at home in the middle of the map. He does not want to be back at home defending, sitting behind bunkers and missile turrets. That's not his style. That's not what he does. So this Warp Prism is HerO's way of checking back that aggression and saying, if you do that, there's a chance it'll come at a cost.
Yeah, the Observer sees the Force is still parked at that third base, by the way, and we can see that Polt, as he wants to get aggressive, you need to cover your sides. So the Vikings are patrolling towards the northeast area of the map. That Warp Prism is basically sitting right outside of that no-fly zone, and Polt's factory is just trying to see where this army's moving itself. He has a Marine on both potential third bases, so he'll know exactly when and where HerO decides to take this third base.
And HerO's doing that kind of, you know, that classic build, 6 gates, 1 Robo, 2 base. I wouldn't be surprised to, in a few moments here, even see Templar Archives. He's actually going to go for the third Colossus. Some Protoss this day and age have stopped at 2 and gone Templar Archive, then going for the third. The Warp Prism is going to move out. It's going to be found by this Viking immediately, and that's a completed natural at this point in time, so the Zealots can do some light harassment. It's going to come at the cost of the Warp Prism, and probably, well, not even probably, there's 3 Zealots for sure.
Yep. At the same time, the rock's being broken down for HerO, just trying to lock that third base in. Factory is aware of this. Polt brings some of these forces forward. Nothing doing just yet. Extended Thermal Lance is about to complete, and we actually have this third Colossus, so this is a pretty, starting to get a bit more of a powerful army for the Protoss, but the 2-2 is beginning, and the armory is completing for Polt, so he could actually end up staying on par, a little bit even, maybe barely behind as he's starting the 2-2 a little bit after his opponent, but the Templar Archives, as you mentioned, is also coming in, so it's starting to get towards that more late mid-game stage where we see the 2-2 upgrades become a big part of this, and then the last game, they were almost the game winners for Polt entirely.
I'm getting a little bit worried. I might be eating my words once again with a delicious spoon of bad. I had talked about how Polt is not much in the way of like an SCV polar, but unless we see a Ghost Academy and a 4th CC anytime soon, I feel like the next move for this guy sitting on 8 barracks is to literally just grab half his SCVs and go for it. He's going to hit the 2-2 variant of this in terms of upgrades. Really good upgrades. Should be at least on par with the Protoss. Very rarely is it behind, and sometimes it's ahead. But with the amount of Vikings he has, there's absolutely nothing HerO can do off a 3-base to stop them from killing his Colossus, short of landing some severely amazing storms. Like if these guys all bunch up and take 2 storms to the teeth, yeah, okay, that could end up being what kills all the Vikings. But more than likely, the Vikings will get the job done. Actually, nice little observer here spotting this movement. Maybe saw the medevacs too.
Yeah, very nice. I think you might have seen the medevacs load up on the left side, but 3 of them are headed towards either that third of the main base. Of course, like you said earlier, it's very easy to jump around. And the Raven, it's pretty nice picking off the observers. You can use it for point defense drone to keep your Vikings alive versus the Stalkers. Of course, it's a huge feedback target and doesn't have much in the way of utility after the energy is spended. But here's the medevacs, and this is Polt trying to jockey for that positioning.
Yeah.
Once again, blasting the rocks away towards the third base. If he hits the main at the same time, it's going to become very difficult for HerO to defend. His storm is not done yet. It's still about 20 seconds away.
HerO's observer spotted this, but he just must have not noticed because Polt is poking and prodding. Mothership Core could be the first victim. Time Warp does get established there in that key spot at the chokehold, but inside the main he's taking tremendous damage. The first Forge does die. The second upgrade finishes here, though, so that it's not going to be as bad, as I suppose, as it could have been. And it looks like he might save the... No, he doesn't have enough. The Nexus will die as well. And inside that third, we have a major fight. The Vikings trying to do what they can against the Colossus. I think this is where HerO will say that's a win, but inside the main, it's a loss. Nexus and Forge die. 1 upgrade does complete, but here he is sitting awkwardly at 2 attack, 1 armor versus the steamrolling upgrades of Polt.
Yeah, and with Polt completing his +2 attack, not having the +2 armor upgrade means he's going to destroy the ground army if he can get good engagements versus, like you said, the Colossi. He will have to replenish the Viking count, but now that Ghost Academy's going, Mobius Reactor is on the way. He'll get enough energy to come out with EMPs for these ghosts. And the Templar Archives also has to be rebuilt, so... Aside from that and the very late upgrades from the killed Forge, I'd say this is a pretty nice trade for Polt as he takes his 4th base.
Well, pretty nice. I mean, I think it's glorious. I was really worried that he was going to go with that just kind of all-or-nothing SCV pull play. But no, Polt's taking a 4th behind. As you said, Ghost Academy is just playing a beautiful, very controlling power game, and he's showing his ability to be diverse. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I went out and said, nah, he only does this one thing. His mid-game aggression. That's all he does. And certainly that timing attack there was really, really cool. Not even really a timing attack, just more kind of a natural attack. But behind that, really strong macro. The Raven, as you said, to pick off observers, but I even like it for PDD or perhaps Seeker Missile if it comes to it. He's going to put a planetary to anchor his central location, protecting his natural, his main, and of course this third over here as well. I mean, Polt, this is the complete Terran. This is what it looks like when a dove cries.
Yeah, and he's trying to get a little bit of pressure done here. HerO steps forward, blinks, grabs a medevac. Nice for him. The Polt's getting ready to bustle in with quite a few units towards the natural. Steps back a little bit. He scans. He wants to just keep an eye on the army. Very smart scan. The last thing I want to do is get sandwiched between a couple of zealots and those storms.
Sure.
And another thing that Polt does that's kind of cute is this command center out front in front of his army. He gets this pretty quickly. He actually does this versus both. I've seen him doing versus both Zerg and Terran alike, just as a really nice tanking mechanism. If he does get pushed back by the Protoss army, he has a very strong point to fall back on. He doesn't have to give up one of his bases to defend. And it has a lot of hit points. It's great for dealing with mass amounts of charge lots. And this is just Polt, as you said, getting that complete Terran setup. +2 weapons for these Vikings and putting out 3 ghosts at a time. He's got almost the perfect Terran army composition versus what HerO has.
Yeah, he's trying. He's maxed out. And notice this, by the way, you young Terran players, but StarCraft 2 aficionados maybe. He's going to load up. He says, all right, I'm maxed. I need to start shaving off some of his units because he wants to start trading in some ghosts into this composition. You don't want to just have 3 or 4. You'd like to have 10, 12, 15 of those things because they're so fantastic against Protoss, so he needs to do that cost effectively. It's a lot like trading Stalkers in PvP. Pylon getting placed by HerO because he's got kind of thoughts of being aggressive, but not before this drop of the third. The Templar does get 1 storm off, but really only hitting a single Marauder. The army of HerO, however, is here to react, but at what cost, all the casters did say, as some storms are being speckled down on that Bioforce. HerO's actually holding quite nicely, I gotta say. He's stuck between a rock and a hard blaze. His upgrades, oh, they just get sniped. Oh my god, HerO so desperately wants to just make his stuff better. Why won't he let him do it, Nathanius?
A great catch for Polt, but a lot of that bio lost in the trade. Most of the medevacs were with the small force that was splintered off towards that third base. A good thing to keep a lot of the Vikings alive. He still has the Raven as well. There's that point defense drone potential. And he has the Ghost back home, adding on additional command centers, which means he can shave off supply in the worker department to continue to put out that bio, as you'd mentioned. But now HerO says, you traded a lot for that. I've got a little bit of a supply edge. This is an opportunity to make something work. But I have to be honest with you, if Polt holds out for a little bit longer, that upgrade advantage from killing those forges this Protoss ball is going to have a really hard time breaking this planetary.
Yeah, it's a very tense moment right now. This is the best chance I feel in this game that HerO's got to perhaps topple Polt. He might have got a little bit too aggressive there. That planetary fortress anchoring this force quite nicely. The other one not started just yet, so a little bit of a mistake. The Vikings looking for some shots. There's a lot of Colossus here, by the way. That's 6 Colossus in this bioforce of Polt. Like we've been saying, it hasn't yet enjoyed. Well, actually, 3-3 is about to click in, so it's going to be a massive upgrade advantage. But it's going to come down to this. Can HerO land a few storms, and can he protect these Colossus? If the answer is yes to pretty much either one, certainly both, he should win this fight.
I mean, these Stalkers have taken a lot of pot shots. If Polt only wants to defend a point differential, could be nice, but the Storm's getting a lot of this
Big
bio.
storms.
He's pressing forward. Most of the Colossi are still alive. Big Zealot Warp in behind this. The
Beautiful
Vikings
positioning.
getting hit by these Stalkers. He's going to pick off maybe one or
HerO.
two more, but there's still 4 Colossi pressing in towards the Terran army. He's building another planetary fortress to fall back on, producing 3 Vikings at a time. The Bio's trying to rush forward, but the storms are too much. HerO still holding on to the supply lead. The SCV's keeping this planetary alive for dear life. It's almost complete, but how long will it even last? Now starting to press HerO back a little bit more. Target firing, actually, it seems to be the Colossus with the planetary, but that will not last much longer. Only 3 Vikings for the CM Storm Terran. He's behind on supply, has an upgrade advantage that we mentioned, but HerO, I think the biggest mistake he could make is overextending a little bit. He needs to just make sure he doesn't walk into a surround from the 3rd and the natural expansion of Polt. If he can get a swarm on this, there's not a lot of Zealots to tank. There's not too many more Stalkers that'll hold those damage on the ground if the Vikings can get close to the Colossi. And this just comes down to pure positioning from HerO. How far is he willing
aware
to
of
move
it.
out?
He's going to take this position where he cannot get surrounded. The SVs are going to try to get Polt, but there's a bunch of Zealots over there holding them back, and Polt's coming around this bend. He's got the Vikings doing what he can.
Takes out all the Colossi. Polt trying to sandwich the force. Archons being chased down as well. The Templar coming forward, trying to storm this chasing bio. Nice grab for HerO. He's got the Zealots cleaning up a lot of what was mining at that 3rd base. The reinforcements taking out the Zealots, but Polt's still being pushed back. There's still a really big supply lead for HerO. The Vikings have been landed to help deal with this, and these Stalkers are getting obliterated by this Marauder force. Another patient storm from HerO trying to bait him out. Not getting the big connections he needs, and another Templar getting picked off for free.
Yeah, HerO's going to back away now. Look at that production tab. You can see he's building another Colossus. Finally going to look to get his 3rd attack upgrade. Armor looks like it was put by the wayside. He did not start the armor upgrade because he couldn't afford it. There it is, just now getting initiated.
And
HerO's going to take a moment.
As well. Kind of interesting.
What'd you say?
He's still rebuilding the Raven. It's kind of interesting that invest the gas here. He needs to get a lot more ghosts, I think, versus how much Templars is committing, especially with the charge lock count. Those ghosts, the extra damage to do versus light, very useful versus compositions like this. But I still feel Polt has a very complete setup. He's got a lot of command centers he can use to mule up this 4th base. I do think soon enough, a 5th base is going to become a big point of contention for the Terran player, though. HerO, in his own regard, hasn't gotten a 5th base either. Still a couple DTs trickling around the map, though.
Yeah, and Polt's going to try to reestablish his vision on these towers. You can see him committing to that right now. Trying to key in on whether or not HerO is up at that 5 or 6 base. What's going on behind that? He did a lot of economic damage with that attack. I mean, we talked about how the big danger there for Polt was how much of his bio he sacrificed to do that damage. He has endured. Supply-wise, Polt has once again pulled up by 20, but it's about normal for that. Protoss is either, maxed out at 200 with the Terran, or they're trailing a little bit, but this Bioforce is going to wheel in here, and that's a dead Nexus.
Yeah, he's getting right on top of that 3rd base. DT's warped in defensively. It's a lot of damage. Will pick off the Nexus, though, as you said. And Polt still has a force active on the map. Every bit of economy that he denies in this stage is super important. We also have to look at the tech setup. There's 2 Colossi on the map, a 3rd one coming out soon, and there's still 7 Vikings. So Polt still has a pretty decent composition balance with the 6 Ghosts versus the 4 Templar. He just needs to watch out how far he overextends. The charge lots are giving chase. The Vikings coming up with that Raven once again. But he needs to be careful of those feedbacks and those storms. If HerO controls his area of effect units properly, there's still a chance here. This game is very, very close back and forth between both of them.
Polt's in a really sweet spot, though. I really like this planetary fortress idea that he's kind of revisited. He's lost 2 of them there, but he keeps rebuilding them. A little bit of a chaser. That's a little bit weird. He's going to actually get 1 and 2 Templar. I can't believe he did that. The army of HerO is much better than that little force that picked him off. Now, this is going to be a big fight here. It seems Polt has determined that this is one of the times he's going to push the issue. He only has these 5 ghosts, and there are a few Templar wandering around, but that storm, not super effective. I got to say, though, I'm looking at this Bioforce of Polt. It's a really weirdly small army. I'm not sure why he's being so brazen. HerO's going to play it safe, though. And if HerO can get the right engagement, I mean, it's what an incredibly safe thing to say, but I just feel like there's a chance Here runs us over, but look at these reinforcements. That's pretty big.
I really like the way Polt ran these units over towards the 4th base and sniped those Templar. He's preventing there from being any Storm flanks. This killed other Terran players in this matchup so far through this tournament. And now the DT is also being picked off a Stalker Blink Sword. Actually trying to grab these Ghosts of Polt. Will kill one, but now Polt's saying, you can only really fight me from one direction. All you need is some good EMPs. There's the point differential from the Raven. The Vikings getting on these Colossi, and there's so much Terran. Polt is pushing through after a rough start in this series, looking to advance here at the DreamHack Grand Finals. He's continuing to just press forward. He's in the natural on top of the forges. Templar coming in from the 3rd base, trying to get a Storm off. Will hit this bio. Nice hit for HerO, but there's so much Terran with this army. HerO's been backed up inside of his main base, the natural left bear. He's still mining off of the 4th, but what can he really put out in this situation to save himself? Another Storm hits just 3 units.
Yeah.
I don't know if HerO's got anything left. He's bringing the last Colossus down towards the ramp. This is it. More Storms hitting. The Vikings will take mincemeat of this Colossus, and that's pretty much it. GG. Polt advances 2-1 over Liquid HerO.